Your high school classmates are buying houses while you're still living paycheck to paycheck. They're not smarter than you, they just know something you don't. This is the 18-month plan to close that gap before it becomes permanent. You have allowed yourself to drift. You have watched others secure their position, build their wealth, and settle into a life you now feel is impossible for you to reach. You look at the calendar and feel a cold dread, whispering that perhaps the ship has sailed and the window of opportunity is closed. You secretly worry that the time you wasted, the environments you endured, and the false starts you suffered have left you permanently behind. This feeling of being trapped by the past is a phantom. We will now confront it with law and logic. I am here to tell you two things that must be burned into your subconscious mind. You are not too late, but you do not have time to waste. The fear, the regret, the feeling of being held back, I understand it. I have spent my life studying the men who overcame greater obstacles than you now face. Men who rose from poverty and obscurity to command great fortunes. I discovered that their success was not a matter of luck, superior genetics, or a head start. It was a matter of law. It was their deliberate application of definite principles that separated them from the 98% of those who fail. The difference between the person who drifts until age 65 with nothing and the person who commands their future is stark and simple. It is the difference between failure and the 2% of people who succeed. This is the difference between the man who thinks and the man who toils. We are going to stop the drift right now. We are going to put an end to the secret shame of comparison. Napoleon Hill discovered that 98 out of every 100 people fail because they lack a definite goal, while the successful 2% succeed not because of luck, but because they have a plan. If you want to catch up, if you want to close that 10-year gap in 18 months, you must stop wishing and start demanding. Your destiny must become a command, not a request. The 18-month reset, moving from wishes to demands. Look honestly at your present condition. You are broke, or perhaps merely getting by, because you have accepted getting by as your reality. The job you hate, the salary you tolerate, the financial status you resent, these are all a perfect reflection of the state of your mind. They are the result of passive wishes instead of active, burning demands. The world gives you only what you demand through persistent, focused thought and action. To catch up in 18 months, you must switch your mind from a passive state of wishing to an active state of burning desire. Wishing is weak. Desire is a force. Wishing accepts whatever life gives. Desire demands a specific result. The moment you define a definite goal, you give your subconscious mind an instruction that it must follow, and you stop being a passenger in your own life. This is the first step in aligning your finite mind with infinite intelligence. The greatest tragedy I have ever witnessed is the man or woman who is defeated before they start, merely because they never defined what victory looked like. You tell me, I want more money, or I want a better life. Those are not aims, they are fantasies. They lack the emotional fire and definiteness that moves the subconscious mind to action. These vague hopes are the smoke that covers the fire of true potential, concealing the one thing that would actually set you free. If you have wasted years, if you feel you have failed to launch, you cannot afford vague ambitions. You need a target so sharp, so defined, that it obsesses you. You need a purpose so strong that you will gladly sacrifice the comforts of the moment, the bad habits, the toxic friends, the useless routines to realize it. Every hour you spend on distraction is an hour given to the past you are trying to escape. Time is your most precious and fastest diminishing resource. You must use it with surgical precision. This is the principle of the definite chief aim. It is the compass of a successful life. It is the spiritual magnet that attracts the material equivalent of your thoughts. Without it, your mind is merely a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly until it runs aground. Consider the story of Edwin C. Barnes. He was not a sophisticated businessman. He was a tramp who arrived at Thomas Edison's laboratories looking like a beggar. He had no money, no connections, and no formal education, but he possessed one thing that outweighed all those deficiencies: a definite chief aim. He did not just hope to work for Edison. He arrived with the fixed, unyielding desire to become Edison's partner. This desire was not merely intellectual. It had the force of a spiritual command, the intensity of a man who could accept no alternative. Barnes was met with opposition and ridicule. He was not allowed to see Edison. He was only allowed to sweep the floors. A lesser man, a wishing man, would have quit after a week, claiming, "I'm not a janitor, I'm a partner." But Barnes had burned his bridges. He knew that the only path to the top was persistence in the face of temporary defeat. He did not say, "I will try for a few months." He said, "I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want." He saw the temporary setback of sweeping floors as a necessary tuition payment for the privilege of being in the right environment. He endured the mockery and the labor because his desire was so definite that it swept aside all opposition. He stayed right there, working as a servant, until an opportunity arose. He did not quit until he got what he wanted, and he eventually became Edison's most important partner in the national distribution of the dictating machine. His tenure as a janitor was not failure. It was the necessary proving ground for his unwavering purpose. His success was not luck. It was the result of a mind focused with such intensity on a single goal that the universe had no choice but to yield. This is the law of concentration applied to desire. You, too, must burn the ships. Identify the safety net, the job you hate, the bad habit, the toxic relationship, or the fear of self-reliance that allows you to retreat when the work becomes hard. Cut it off. You must create a state of mind known as a burning desire to win. For example, you must cut off the habit of consuming 3 hours of aimless entertainment nightly and replace it with 90 minutes of specialized knowledge study. You must deliberately make retreat impossible. There must be no path back to mediocrity, because mediocrity is the only real prison you face. The fear of failure must be replaced by the greater fear of regret. You cannot catch up by drifting. 95% of people are failures because they have no definite chief aim. You must create a plan so definite that it obsesses you. You must realize that the moment you fail to define your own goal, you automatically begin working for the goal of someone else. Specific action steps, the 6-step formula for definite chief aim. I am giving you the exact step-by-step formula that every successful man I studied used to convert thought into material reality. This is not theory, it is law. Do not modify it. Execute it with the precision of a scientist. Fix the exact amount of money you want. Do not say a lot. Say, "I will possess $50,000 or $100,000 or $1 million by a specific date." Be exact, for the subconscious mind only responds to definite command. Ambiguity ensures ambiguity in your results. You must give the builder a blueprint, not a sketch. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There is no such thing as something for nothing. Will you give specialized knowledge, a certain service, or a specific product? Your definite aim must be met with definite service, because the law of compensation is absolute. Identify the specific value you will render to others. Establish a definite date by which you intend to possess the money you desire. Without a deadline, your definite aim is merely a wish. A deadline is the necessary pressure that compels you to action, forcing you to develop the urgency required to catch up. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire, and begin at once, whether you feel ready or not, to put this plan into immediate action. Do not wait for the perfect moment. The man who waits for perfect clarity will never move. Imperfect action is always superior to magnificent inaction. Write out a clear, concise statement of the above 4 points. State the amount of money, the time limit, what you intend to give in return, and describe the plan through which you intend to acquire it. Use the precise language of command, as if you were writing a contract with yourself and the universe. Read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night and once after arising in the morning. As you read, see, and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money, you must use auto-suggestion to saturate your subconscious with the feeling of success, thereby commanding its manifestation. The emotion behind the words is the spiritual engine of this law. This process is your 18-month reset. It is the difference between drifting toward a meaningless future and commanding your destiny. You must not move to the next step until you have completed this one. Your desire must be a fire, not a flicker. The secret knowledge you cannot catch up alone. If you are a late starter, you feel the burden of isolation. You look at your wealthy friends and peers and feel a sense of inadequacy, whispering, "I am not smart enough," or "I do not have the connections." You are trying to solve a colossal financial problem in isolation, and this single mistake, this prideful attempt at solo success, will keep you broke forever. Understand this law. Power is organized knowledge. Power is not simply what you hold, it is what you can organize and direct. No single brain, however brilliant, possesses all the necessary intelligence to command a large fortune quickly. Your wealthy friends did not get rich alone. They are leveraging the mastermind principle. The principle is simple but eternally true. A group of brains coordinated in a spirit of harmony provides more thought energy than a single brain, just as a group of electric batteries provides more energy than a single battery. The combined intelligence of a mastermind group is infinitely greater than the sum of its parts, giving you the collective specialized knowledge of everyone involved. You have wasted time. You do not have the luxury of spending the next 10 years acquiring all the specialized knowledge necessary to catch up. You must acquire it through the efforts and experience of others. You must learn to leverage the mental capital of those who have already succeeded, reducing your learning curve from a decade to 18 months. The mastermind is the secret knowledge of the financially successful. They know that they do not need to know everything to be wealthy. They need only to organize the knowledge of others. This organization is the highest form of specialized knowledge, converting latent power into active, irresistible force. Look at the story of Henry Ford. When a Chicago newspaper called him ignorant during a libel suit, Ford was pressed by a lawyer to answer technical questions outside his expertise. Ford calmly pointed out that he did not need general knowledge in his own head. He stated that he had a row of electric push buttons on his desk, and by pushing the right button, he could summon the specialized knowledge he needed from his mastermind group, his expert associates. He did not waste time memorizing facts. He organized a group to supply them. His true genius was not in rote memory, but in the power of coordination and the organization of brains. Ford did not know everything, but he knew how to organize the knowledge of others and direct it toward a definite aim. He became one of the wealthiest men in the world because he understood the power of coordination. He built his financial empire on the principle of mental unity. If you are trying to catch up in 18 months, you must immediately transition from being a lone laborer to being an organizer of knowledge. The moment you form an alliance, you multiply your capacity to generate and execute ideas. You overcome isolation, eliminate the sense of being overwhelmed, and gain immediate access to the specialized knowledge you lack in finance, strategy, and negotiation. This acceleration is the only way to close the gap you face, as you are instantly borrowing years of experience. Specific action steps. The Mastermind Alliance. Form the alliance. Identify and secure a commitment from at least one, but ideally two or three, people who possess the specialized knowledge you lack and who are already successful in the area of your definite chief aim. This could be a financial expert, a technical consultant, or a highly successful mentor. The aim is coordination, not competition. Be prepared to offer them definite value in return for their time, for the law of compensation applies here as well. The harmony rule. This is non-negotiable. You must maintain perfect harmony with this group. The spiritual unity of the mastermind is its source of power, as it allows creative ideas to flow freely. If there is friction, disagreement that leads to resentment or lack of faith, the mastermind cannot exist. Harmony is the spiritual bedrock of the alliance. If you must change a toxic member, do so immediately, or the group will become a liability, not an asset. A mastermind is not a debating society. It is a creative force powered by mutual trust. Regular meetings. You must establish a definite rhythm. Meet with this group at least twice a week, in person or virtually, to perfect your plans for acquiring money. The purpose of these meetings is to pool creative energy and make definite decisions that move you closer to your 18-month goal. The energy generated in these meetings must be channeled directly into immediate action, making the group a functioning part of your definite plan. Your environment is either holding you back or propelling you forward. If your environment is toxic, negative, or passive, you must escape it and replace it with the organized power of the mastermind. The moment you coordinate your brain power with those who are already successful, you stop merely working for a salary and start building a life that works for you. Remember, no master has ever achieved freedom alone. The velocity factor. The law of increasing returns. To close a 10-year gap in 18 months, you cannot just do enough. You cannot simply do what is asked of you and expect extraordinary results. You must activate the law of increasing returns. This is the secret weapon that allows you to pass those who started ahead of you, and it is rooted in the principle of the habit of doing more than paid for. The person who does only what he is paid for will never be paid for more than he does. That is a law. He remains perpetually stuck, feeling underpaid and unnoticed. He is merely an obedient cog in someone else's machine, trapped in a predictable cycle of diminishing returns. He is selling himself short by limiting his expression of potential. You feel underpaid because you are underpaid relative to your potential. But the reason you remain stuck is that you have mistaken loyalty for leverage. You must render service first, and the reward will follow. The law of increasing returns is the assurance that the quality and quantity of the service you render voluntarily will eventually return to you multiplied, whether in money, influence, or opportunity. This is how men compound their time and effort, turning temporary sacrifice into permanent gain. This is not altruism. This is the hard law of business. It is the velocity factor required to catch up. By providing value beyond expectation, you force the market to reevaluate your worth, and you force the law of compensation to deliver a greater return. Consider the example of Carol Downs, who worked for W.C. Durant, the founder of General Motors. Downs did not just clock in and clock out. He rendered service beyond expectation. He would stay after hours, not because he was asked, but simply to be available if Durant needed an immediate task done. He was working for Durant's convenience, placing himself in the path of opportunity. He positioned himself where he could be seen, utilized, and relied upon at the highest level of management, proving his ambition through demonstrated initiative. Because he rendered more service than paid for, he became indispensable to Durant. He was not asking for a raise. He was earning one through his actions. His initiative placed him in the highest circle of confidence, and he eventually became Durant's right-hand man and the president of a distributing company. He placed himself in the way of the law of increasing returns, and the returns were exponential. His extra service was his investment capital, and it paid the highest possible dividend, promotion and ownership. Your aim is not to please your boss. Your aim is to create an internal habit of excellence that demands promotion and opens doors to ownership. If you feel stuck at a salary level, it is because you have become predictable. You have a reputation for doing just enough. That reputation is your financial chain. You must break this pattern of mediocrity by making your service so remarkable that it becomes the talk of your industry. The moment you begin to render service that is far superior to what you are paid, you activate the law. You are placing capital, your time, your skill, your initiative into an invisible bank account that pays out in opportunity. This deliberate over-delivery establishes a new level of expectation, not just in the minds of others, but in your own subconscious, raising the standard of your personal output. Specific action steps. The QQS formula and the 6-month experiment. The QQS formula. I want you to evaluate your daily work by the 3 measures of service: quality, the efficiency and excellence of your work; quantity, the volume of output you produce; and spirit, the agreeable harmony with which you render the service. You must increase the quantity and quality while maintaining the spirit. This is the self-audit of the rising man. You must measure this daily, for what is not measured cannot be multiplied, and what is not evaluated cannot be improved. The 6-month experiment. Work for promotion, not for a raise. For the next 6 months, I demand you render useful service to at least one person every single day for which you neither expect nor accept pay. This could be extra research, building an unrequested system, or perfecting a process outside your job description. You are not doing this for charity. You are doing this to reprogram your mind and create a reputation that forces the world to notice you. This dedication proves your faith in yourself and your commitment to the law of increasing returns. Make yourself indispensable. Do not ask for a raise. Make yourself so valuable through extra service that you become indispensable. Your effort must make your employer's or client's life easier, not harder. This creates leverage. Once you become indispensable, you are no longer a servant. You are a partner whose value cannot be questioned or dismissed. Remember, you do not have time to waste. You must adopt the habit of doing more than paid for, because it is the only way to accelerate your progress and activate the financial laws that reward service rendered before service is compensated. The mental barrier, destroying the alibis that keep you poor. We have defined your aim, organized your power, and accelerated your service. But now we must confront the final, greatest enemy to your success. The mental barrier, the alibis created by the fear of poverty. You are not broke because of the economy. You are broke because you spend more time explaining why you cannot succeed than it would take to actually succeed. You have built a psychological fortress of excuses of alibis to protect your ego from the truth of your own inaction. You have chosen the temporary comfort of the alibi over the difficult path of self-responsibility, and this compromise is the source of all failure. This habit is fatal to success. Alibis are the cancer of ambition. They are the self-imposed limitations that shrink your world to fit your fears. The fear of poverty is the most destructive and crippling of the 6 basic fears. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. These fears manifest themselves as chronic worry, indecision, and a tendency to create alibis. It is too late for me. I am afraid to lose the little I have. What will people say if I fail? Or the most common excuse of all, the old man if I only had money, or if I were younger, or if I had better connections. Every successful person had to destroy their old man if to succeed. They realized that their environment was a projection of their inner beliefs, and that shifting the internal environment was the only route to external change. I once met a man who was literally down and out, a tramp contemplating taking his own life on the streets. He had hit rock bottom, blaming every circumstance, every person, and the entire world for his failure. I took him to a mirror, and I introduced him to the real me, the only person in the world who could save him. I forced him to look at his own reflection and see that the source of his struggle was not the world, but the mirror. His alibis were self-created fears, illusions manufactured by his mind to justify his inaction. He saw the truth that every man is responsible for his own thoughts. The man was shocked into action. He stopped blaming the world and started using his own mind. He went out that day and sold himself into a job, and he eventually became the president of a large concern. He did not succeed because the world changed. He succeeded because he destroyed the alibis that had previously kept him poor. He found the key to his own change by finding the conviction within himself. You must stop telling yourself the stories that keep you small. You must stop protecting yourself with excuses. If you have been held back by toxic environments or by others, you must recognize that your alibi, your complaint, is only a further chain binding you to that past. The only way to prove those critics wrong is through definitive, measurable action, not lengthy explanations of your struggle. Specific action steps: the alibi audit and the mirror technique. The alibi audit. I want you to take the time to read the list of the 57 famous alibis and see how many you use daily. Write down your top 3 excuses for delayed success. Then beside each one write, "This is an alibi of my own making, rooted in the fear of poverty, and I will now destroy it through immediate action." This honest confrontation is the first step toward self-mastery, forcing the truth into the open. Mirror technique. Stand before a mirror twice daily. At the same time you read your definite chief aim. Tell the person you see that you will no longer accept poverty or the circumstances that breed it. Look that person in the eye and demand self-reliance. Tell him, "I have the power to control my thoughts, and I refuse to accept any circumstance that leads toward poverty." This is autosuggestion applied to confidence, transforming self-doubt into self-command. Crush the fear. Realize that the fear of poverty is just a state of mind, nothing more. It has no physical reality outside of your thoughts. Refuse to accept it. Crush it by taking the action that fear tells you to avoid. Start that business. Make that call. Demand that meeting. Fear vanishes when met with motion, because action cures indecision. Building alibis to explain away failure is a national pastime, and the habit is fatal to success. You must destroy the old man if. You are not too late, but you do not have time to waste telling the world why you cannot move. This is a good time to pause and commit to the steps. If you have found value in these laws of success, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell. I am committed to walking this path with you, transforming these universal truths into the actionable steps you need to command your future. If you are ready to take the next step, I want you to leave a comment right now. Tell me which of the 6 basic fears, poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, or the cessation of life, is the greatest source of your alibis. The moment you name your enemy, you begin to master it. The accelerator, self-confidence and autosuggestion. If you intend to close a 10-year financial gap in 18 months, you must accelerate the process. This requires the deliberate and constant programming of your subconscious mind to believe you are already successful. You must use the power of autosuggestion to build self-confidence so strong that it sweeps aside all opposition. The world, the past environment, the toxic friends, the timid family has done its best to program you for failure. They have given you the script of the late starter, the average man, the one who settles. You must now tear up that script and write your own. You must realize that your mind is a garden, and if you do not consciously plant the seeds of success, the weeds of fear and doubt will grow in their place. This self-programming is the key to velocity. You are the master of your fate because you have the power to control your thoughts. The subconscious mind is the connecting link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. It accepts and acts upon any command you give it, with sufficient emotion and repetition. Therefore, what you constantly repeat to yourself becomes instruction, and the subconscious executes what it is told. If you wake each day and speak defeat, delay, and weakness, you have issued orders for poverty. If you wake and declare belief, wealth, and clarity, you have issued orders for victory and financial freedom. Your spoken words are the law of your life, and the repetition of these words is the bridge between your desire and its physical fulfillment. The feeling of imposter syndrome, the lack of belief in yourself, the timidity you feel when faced with a huge goal, these are not innate flaws. They are simply the result of negative autosuggestion implanted by years of conditioning. You have been taught to shrink your expectations to fit your income, when you should be expanding your expectations to command a new income. This timidity is the final barrier that only faith, applied through autosuggestion, can break. Hugh Chalmers, the sales manager of National Cash Register, faced a sales force that had completely lost confidence. They were failing in a rich territory, full of excuses. Chalmers called a meeting, and in a famous display, he had a small boy shine his shoes on a conference table. He proved to his salesman that this small boy was making a living in the same territory where the trained, educated men were failing. He shamed them into realizing their failure was internal, a lack of confidence, not external. They promised to double their sales, and they did. The point is this: confidence is not a gift. It is a habit of thought created by conscious autosuggestion and then reinforced by the law of habit. You must act the part of the man you intend to become until that identity is forged within you. You must live and move with the assured certainty of the man who has already achieved his aim. To catch up quickly, you must deliberately place positive thoughts in your mind to attract the physical financial reality you desire. This mental work is just as real and far more critical than any physical labor, for thought is the true matrix of material reality. Specific action steps. The self-confidence formula. Self-confidence formula. I demand that you sign and memorize the 5-point self-confidence formula. This is your oath, your new mental programming. Repeat it aloud, with full emotion and faith, at least once a day, and preferably morning and night. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite chief aim. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. This addresses the weakness of indecision. Second, I realize that the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in external physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become. This is the deliberate act of mental creation. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion that any desire that I persistently hold in mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I shall devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. This is the conscious command to the subconscious. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. This ties persistence to a definite goal. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless founded upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, for I know that a negative attitude toward others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day, with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions, so that I will become a self-reliant and successful person. This ensures your success is built on a foundation of integrity and the mastermind principle. 30-minute concentration. Spend 30 minutes daily thinking of the person you intend to become. See yourself already in possession of the money, already leading the mastermind, already commanding the life you desire. Create a mental picture so real that your subconscious mind accepts it as an instruction for your new reality. Let this concentration become the most important appointment of your day, the time you spend with your future self. The no rejection. When you face rejection, remember the principle of persistence. Realize that no often just means you have not yet presented the matter from the buyer's viewpoint. Persistence is the active manifestation of faith and the greatest builder of self-confidence. Every no is simply a test of your desire and a necessary step toward the final yes. You must stop merely trying to get rich and start focusing on becoming the kind of person whom riches obey. This is done through the deliberate daily practice of autosuggestion and the self-confidence formula. This is your mental accelerator, required to achieve the speed of progress that your delayed start demands. The decision to master yourself. Let us now bring every law, every truth, and every warning to its final command. You have defined your aim, organized your power, accelerated your service, and addressed your fear. But until you transform who you are, no change in your habits, no change in your income, no change in your environment will last. The final battle is one of identity, and it must be won through a definitive, unyielding decision. This world does not obey the man who performs. It obeys the man who commands. And no man can command until he first refuses to serve mediocrity, fear, timidity, and the wage. The power of command comes from self-mastery, the absolute authority over your own thoughts and habits. You can pass away as a laborer or rise as a leader. The difference is not money. It is thought, discipline, and decision. You were not born to merely work. You were born to build. You were not born to be instructed. You were born to direct. You were not born to comply. You were born to create. Your true purpose is to be the master of your own destiny. If you are still breathing, still hearing these words, it means it is not too late. But understand, this is the final gate. You must cross it or forever live beneath it. Your 18-month transformation depends entirely on the command you issue to yourself today, a command that brooks no compromise. I walked this path. I was the son of a poor miner in the hills of Virginia. I had no inheritance, no connections, no safety, but I had a voice, I had a mind, and I had a decision that I would no longer serve the fear of poverty, that I would no longer serve ignorance, that I would no longer serve the chains passed down by weak men. I studied the minds of the rich, not the surface of their wealth, but the spiritual roots. I studied Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller, Edison, and I found that every one of them obeyed the laws I have just given you. They mastered themselves, they decided, they acted, they repeated, and they became impossible to ignore. They understood that true wealth is attracted to character, not chance, and that character is forged through definite thought. And by mastering thought, I became more than what the world expected of me. I advised millionaires. I built a legacy. I passed down a system, not of tips, but of transformation. And so can you. for the same immutable laws are available to you now as they were to the great men of history. It begins now. And it begins with your refusal. Refuse to live as if you are powerless. Refuse to wake up with no definite chief aim. Refuse to sell your time for crumbs. Refuse to think small, move slow, and act weak. Refuse to pass away without building something the world cannot erase. You are here to command. The command code. Write your definite chief aim. Now, make your demand and begin the 6-step formula immediately. Let this goal govern every decision you make in the next 18 months, acting as the single point of reference for your new identity. Build daily command, mastery. Do not trust motivation, trust repetition. Every morning, program your mind by reading your aim aloud and reviewing your mastermind plan. Your internal discipline is the foundation of your external fortune, ensuring the law of habit works for you, not against you. Build income streams. A man who depends on one stream is still serving. Use your mind to build systems and leverage. Let your labor fund your freedom, but do not stop at labor. Build ownership of intellectual, financial, and mechanical systems so that your wealth multiplies while you sleep. You are not too late. I must impress upon you, with the full weight of every success and failure I have studied throughout my career advising the world's greatest magnates, that the past, with all its regrettable delays, toxic environments, poor decisions, and missed opportunities, is nothing more than a memory, a shadow that holds no substantive power over your current moment. The years you feel you squandered were merely preparation, provided you now pause, reflect, and apply the deliberate lessons learned from those setbacks. The only thing that truly determines your future, the only force that can close the existing gap, is the quality and magnitude of your present actions and the definiteness of the aim behind them. Every sunrise brings a new, clean slate. Every day you wake up is a new chance to issue a new command to your subconscious mind, and a new chance to align yourself with the immutable laws of success, which reward rhythm and definiteness above all else. Do not mourn the years you lost. Instead, focus the entire concentrated intensity of your thought and energy on the hours that remain. The man who achieves greatness is not necessarily the one who started first or was given the most, but the man who learns to compress decades of spiritual, mental, and physical growth and experience into short, definite periods of relentless, intelligent, and organized action. This burning sense of urgency is not a punishment. It is the necessary accelerator for the late starter. If this message has struck you, if the truth of these laws, from the necessity of the definite chief aim to the exponential power of the mastermind principle, has resonated deeply within your soul, then you have an obligation that extends beyond yourself. You must become a spiritual leader in your own immediate sphere, a living proof of the power of applied faith. If you know someone who feels stuck, held back, is trapped by a cycle of toxic environments or low expectations, is constantly seeking excuses, or is secretly worried that it is too late for their breakthrough, then send this message to them now. Do not allow them to drift another day in the fog of self-doubt and indecision. This is not a distraction. It is an obligation to lift up those who are ready for the truth, those whose hearts are prepared for the seed of definite purpose. The greatest service you can render is sharing the law that sets you free, helping another soul understand they possess the power of self-command and that their limitations are self-imposed. I want you to affirm this final oath with the force of your entire being. I want you to speak it aloud, allowing the vibrations of these words to rewrite the timid and fearful instructions planted in your subconscious mind by years of circumstance and negative suggestions. Let this oath become the new operating system of your life, the final, undeniable command that compels your freedom and initiates your exponential growth, a contract you seal with infinite intelligence. I will not be a slave to any man. I was born to command wealth, not to work until the cessation of life. My speed creates my freedom. I will close the gap in 18 months. This is the promise you make to yourself, to the mastermind allies you will gather, and to the legacy you were meant to build. Now that you possess the definite chief aim, the mastermind plan, the habit of doing more than paid for, and the self-confidence to crush all fear and destroy all alibis, there is no physical or spiritual force that can hold you back. The world is waiting for your organized plan and your commanding presence. And now, walk with the purposeful stride of the man who knows exactly where he is going, never pausing for indecision or doubt. Speak with the conviction of the man whose words are backed by definite plans and unwavering faith, commanding respect and cooperation. Build systems of ownership, not dependence, so that your mind works for you while others sleep and your returns are exponential. Live not as the man the world tried to make of you, conforming to average expectations and the slavery of the wage, but as the man you were always meant to become, a commander of thought, a master of discipline, and a creator of lasting fortune and influence. This is your beginning. This is your freedom. This is your new law. You are not too late. Start now. This channel walks with you.